All right, conversations with franchise attorney Skylar Reidel. Here's an interesting one that I get a lot, and I have my answer for it. I'm interested to hear yours. What happens if I want to exit this franchise early? This is a 10-year franchise agreement. My answer generally is that this is
Sure,
your
sure.
business. You can sell it. We're going to be ready for that. Always be prepping. One of the things I
Yeah,
tell people is that the day you open your franchise, I want you thinking of your exit strategy goal because you're
yeah,
going to make better
definitely.
decisions, right? So, but from the legal perspective, what happens if they want to get out of that franchise agreement early?
So good question. And we definitely have this conversation with many clients, if not all of them. We always have a section about the exit strategy in our reviews, but I'll
Good.
boil it down to the four key points in regards to your options. First is obviously to sell it. That is what you want to shoot for. You get compensated for your work and you're able to cleanly and very nicely exit your legal obligations and leave, right? Transition to something else. It's the right way to do it. If that's not an option, we sometimes have to work through franchise exits or mutual terminations. What happens there is we approach the franchisor with the underlying concern or consequence of what has happened. Usually it's because the franchisee is insolvent, right? They're out of money, frankly. And we
Yep.
approach them and say, look, this is our close date. We have to transition to something else. What can we do to clean this up nicely with the franchisor? And we negotiate an exit. That exit might be transferring it back to the franchisor. It might be closing it and exiting the agreement. It could be transferring it to another franchisee. There could mean a lot of things. And essentially, we're terminating the agreement and all coming to a final understanding of how that happens, right? So, a lot of different moving parts, a lot of legal terms and things that we help finalize, but usually there'll be some payments that the franchisee will make, paying to get out of the franchise agreement early, essentially. So we just try to wrap all that up. And with a mutual termination, there's also concerns usually with the landlord, right? And other parties, third
Right.
parties, vendors and whatnot. So there's a lot to clean up. And it's not fun. That's not the fun part of my work, but I'm proud of what we do. And I'm proud to help people escape some of those situations. And we do it the right way, right? We work with the franchisor and we find them an exit that is reasonable and allows everybody to refresh, right, and reset. So that's the second option. Third option, which maybe I should have put before, but that's expiration. The other option is to let the agreement expire. Maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's 5, whatever that is. If you've worked out, if you've worked through the term of the agreement and you're coming up to the end, you have a choice. You can either renew it and or try to sell it before it expires, or you can let it expire and close it down, right, and tidy it all up. And that's another way to very cleanly exit your agreement. And we've probably done a couple of those over the years, but it's not usually the case where the expiration is right synchronized in time with when you need to exit, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and the final option is what I call the nuclear, and I don't recommend it really ever unless just all other options have failed. And that's abandonment of the business, right? Walking away. And that's simply you got to close the doors and shut everything down and walk out. That does not wrap up anything nicely. All of your legal obligations are still on the table and potential liabilities, right? This is to third party vendors. This is to the landlord, to the
Right.
franchisor, and it could touch upon your personal guarantee, right? That you've probably signed for the lease and certainly signed for the franchise agreement. It's a very messy situation. In the last probably 5 years that I recall, we've done less than a handful. So maybe one
Okay.
every other year has ever progressed to that level. And that's usually because the franchisor has been, when we try to negotiate an exit, they're just very difficult to work with, or they're insisting on an exit fee that's unreasonable for our client that they don't have, frankly. So
Yep.
it's very rare for it to escalate to that point, but in some circumstances we've had to do that. But that's really the 4 exit options. The vast majority of folks are going to sell, right? That's the cleanest, it's the most effective, and you get paid for it, right? So it's
Right.
nice. But if that doesn't work out, there are other gradients, right, of where you can go to facilitate your exit.
Thank you for watching. If you're ready to take the next step, Integrity Franchise Group is here to help. Click the link below or reach out to us today to schedule an appointment. Let's work together to solve that franchise puzzle and turn your business dreams into reality. We cannot wait to connect with you.